Yay!
Woo! We're back.
This is our 4th time recording this podcast.
Sure is.
Just continuous technical difficulties, but one day, we will have a technical audio advisor. We will have our own little My Favorite Murder Steven just sitting in the wings, managing all this process. Maybe at that point in time we'll be in the same city. Just any Steven.
Any Steven.
You never met Poetry Steven.
I did.
Poetry Steven is at a different poetry reading group that I was doing on Wednesdays. That I was doing like every other Wednesday. And he's very cute and he's very sweet. And he also is like a bartender / cleanup man at one of the gay bars downtown. And he's very cute. So we should just get him to it because his name is Steven. Let's get him to it.
Yes, because then we can still yell,
Steven! Anyway, hi, I'm Cory.
Hi, I'm Natalie.
And this is Pathetic
And Poetic.
But mostly pathetic.
Mostly for the most part. Especially because we are in take 3,462. And it is all my fault.
And normally, I would defend you. And I would say, no, I'll bear some of the burden of this accident. I'll do it. I swear I'll do it. I will. But
this time,
fully let you dive onto this bus and
because
be like,
I deserve
bye, Nat.
Goodbye, Nat. Enjoy your
wave
time.
as you dive under it. But that's okay.
Yes.
That's okay.
As I have always said, and I will always stand by this, I am terrible with technology. I'm like...
You sound like a 90-year-old woman when you say that.
Oh, but I am. When it comes to a computer being in front of my face, I become a 90-year-old woman. I'm like a walking solar flare. I have, on multiple occasions, walked into offices and had multiple computers immediately shut down. They're like, this has never happened before. And I'm like, yep, it is me. It's me.
Yes, hi, I'm a solar flare.
It's me. I'm a solar flare.
Technology
doesn't work in a 5-mile radius around me.
I gotcha.
So I'll give Cory a round of applause for putting up with me and my bullshit.
And I don't know what I thought you said, but it took me a second to hear the word bullshit.
Yeah, my bullshit.
And my bullshit.
But hello and welcome back. This is our podcast. It is about les poems.
Les poems?
Les poems.
Is that French? Is that Spanish?
It is now. It's French now.
Oh, so you just added like le before any word and you were like, look how foreign it sounds.
Well, that's what makes it French.
Look how brilliant and discerning worldly do I sound.
Look how worldly I am.
I'm from around the world.
I'm from
all around the world. Statues crumble.
Oh, I was going to go with... Oh, that's People of the World. People of the World, Spice Up Your Life.
We were doing the same era, though, because you were doing Spice Girls and I was doing Sugar Ray.
Oh, perfect.
Wait, you were doing Spice Girls, right?
Spice Up Your Life. Every boy and every girl, spice up your life.
I wonder if they could have collaborated on
that
would
have been a sick collab.
Yeah, they still could. There's still time.
There's still time.
How
was your week?
My week, not very poetic, mostly pathetic.
Same.
It was fine. I had like several activities. Like there were definitely things that like went on, and I did. I went to see Wicked. I haven't seen it since like senior year of high school. It was very, very good. I went to a drunk pottery wheel spinning class.
That sounds so fun.
So it was much harder than I expected it to be. And there was an instructor and he was supposed to have like 2 assistants, but apparently both of the assistants canceled last minute. So he was like teaching 3 classes at the same time.
Oh boy.
All in like different steps of like labor. Like there was a penis molding class. Where you just molded penises out of clay. And so there were some people that were still finishing up their peni. And then there
Is that
was
the plural of penises? Peni?
Sure is.
Lipine.
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 The sculpting the peen. And honestly, it looked like a lot of elven houses. Because they all just sort of...
what else do penises? What else do penises look like?
No, but they were like
elven houses.
They were like awkward umbrellas on type, like just very.
You're just describing penises to me.
No, but very large heads, like just very very large heads, like just abnormally large.
Oh man!
And
sounds like an intimidating place to be.
100%. So there was that class. There was another class they were just doing like kind of glazing and painting and things on pottery that already existed. Okay. And then there was us, and we were like making our little pots and things. So it was a very like event filled week. But I feel like the things in between the highs were very like even keel and chill. So, what about your week? How was your week going?
It's fine.
Also, I just want to remind everybody who is listening, if they are listening, we've done this How Was Your Week bit 4 times now.
Correct.
So both of us know exactly how the other week is going.
I just want you to know, I know how his week went already, okay? So you're welcome for keeping you in the loop. My week was also fine and wholly uninspiring.
I'm so sorry.
Moving right along.
As I was asking you, I was like, this just felt like the biggest question I'd ever asked in my life before.
Sounds so forced. I wonder why.
It's like,
everyone's going to listen back to this and be like,
week?
This sounds so weird. Like almost like they've asked each other this question 9 times already tonight.
I kind of want to, because I wish that, like, we have your first take but not mine. We have my second take but not yours. And we have a smattering of both of our third takes. And so at first I was going to say I should just put all of our false starts in there. But technically I could put 2 sides, your part 1 and my part 2 together and make a podcast that makes no goddamn sense.
Which is what the people really want. So let's just fucking do that.
It is kind of what our podcast already is. It's just belligerent nonsense. I think I said that in the last episode.
You came here for some belligerent nonsense because that is all you're getting.
We're rebranding the podcast from Pathetic and Poetic to belligerent nonsense.
We know what you're really after. But yeah, as you know, my week was just okay and wholly uninspiring. I worked a lot. I got out of the house more than I did the week prior, which was good.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't just sitting there stewing in mind juices.
Ew. Ew.
That was really
I'm just picturing you like in your couch, but also in a puddle. It's like...
I mean, basically. No,
like when you sort of pop a waterbed and a little pool forms.
Just becomes like a baby pool.
Yeah, exactly.
But as you know, I didn't have a lot of work last week, and then I am working now. I'm in the middle of like an 8-day straight work week. So I'm like a little tired, but it feels better to be busy than to be like totally stagnant.
Oh yeah.
But as you said, like kind of just like normal, like draining work stuff, like monotonous work stuff. So not super
I've had a lot
inspired.
of that lately too.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of monotony going on.
Mm-hmm.
I can usually have, and this is new information, breaking news. I usually have like one project that's going on that I can kind of gravitate onto, and I could say like, oh, this is my really fun project. This is the project I can really kind of sink my teeth into and just like kind of get into all of it. And then there's usually like probably 4 or 5 other projects that like they're very kind of simple lifts. You don't really like need to put a lot of your mind or a lot of your backbone into it. They're just kind of like they're more simple projects. And right now I have none of those like awe-inspiring ones going on right now. And so I'm just kind of looking through stock footage clips to find people wearing helmets correctly.
What?
I'm making very, very simplistic graphics of laundry mats.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very kind of simple process at the moment. I mean, I love when I can have a project where like it has like characters or illustration or something that I can really kind of just like delve into and like kind of learn something while I'm doing it. And I have none of that going on right now. We should actually talk about poetry if this is a poetry podcast. I feel like we've been talking about.
I guess so. What is your favorite poem then?
Oh, my favorite poem. You just want me to just like pick a poem, just like grab it.
Yeah. Or poet. Do you have a favorite poet?
I feel like, okay, there is a part of me that like, I definitely remember bits and lines of things that definitely, like, you know, when you read them or when you hear them and they taste very good in your mouth and you're like,
oh, they taste
I like
so
it the way they taste. I like it the way it sounds. I like it the way. But I think I do definitely have like one poem from a poet's body of work or whatever, or like this other poem or this other poem or this other poem. And I think it's because they're like all tied to very specific memories. And then I just like, I kind of fall in love with them for whatever reason. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now you're gonna make me think. Okay, of course, obviously. There's a poet named Dominic Christina. Okay. Or Dominique Christina, actually, probably because Dominic would be the male's name. And so Dominique is probably her name.
Names have no gender.
Names have no gender.
And gender is a social construct.
And social constructs are walls built with your minds.
But if her name is Dominique, then it's Dominique.
That's probably her name. I would assume it's Dominique Christina. She's a fantastic kind of slam poet. And I'm sure she has a fantastic body of work. I have heard like several of her poems, but like not enough to like, you know, whatever. But she's got this fantastic poem called The Period Poem, which she wrote to her daughter / for her daughter when her daughter got her first period. And just the whole thing.
Oh, yes, I do know this one. Okay.
It is like a rejuvenating literary journey. It's so tasty. I know. You look at the look on your face.
What a review.
It has just like so much emotion and so much passion and so much heat to it. And whenever I like need like a poetry like charge, like a little poetry turbo boost or whatever, I would like listen to that. And I think it's just like, you know, obviously I've never had a period before. I don't want to say obviously. Again, we don't assume anything, but I've never had a period before. And it frames femininity and like the entire experience of that like monthly gift of being a woman that like only kind of women have in such a very interesting way. And so it's such a kind of wonderful poem. And I think it was one of like the first things that I listened to that really got me into poetry. And then the other one that I would say would be One Finger, Two Dots, Then Me.
Right,
by
you showed
Derek
me
Brown.
That one.
Yes.
Which
I absolutely love. And the first time I heard it, it was like the opening night of this community theater production of Rent that I did. And the assistant director kind of like gathered us all in like this sort of like huddle and read this poem to us. And it was like kind of a phenomenal experience. And it's actually kind of funny. There
is nothing like a hormonal teen theater huddle.
Oh no, this was community theater after high school.
Oh.
Most of them were adults. Like it was, I mean, that entire musical was like, it was an incredible like orgasmic experience. Like it like, ooh. Because I like, you know, like obviously, yes, you're an actress. And so I would imagine I don't know if this happens as much for you because it's more like things where it happens with your job where these probably instances are much more rare, but where like everybody gets what they need in a moment. And so that show is definitely what I think almost everybody in the show needed at the time. And we needed each other at the time. And so it was just like this kind of like organic growing process of like all of us just kind of like needing something that summer. And Rent is like such like a very like community show and it's like very cast driven. And so I don't know, we just like developed this kind of incredible bond that then, you know, of course it like kind of disappears after that. Like, I mean, the way you have like these sort of friendship showmances and whatever, and then it stays and then it's gone, whatever. Yeah. It is kind of funny though. I read the Derek Brown poem to my dad like 2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah. Because so my brother's getting married this weekend.
Yay!
Yeah,
That's
I
so
know.
exciting.
I know, it's the happiest day of somebody else's life. It's incredible.
Do you think you can congratulations for two, them and theirs?
Yes, and me and me.
And you and yours.
It's not my day, but I did it. I did it. And I found out that I was going to be able to like give like a speech at the rehearsal dinner. And so my dad had called and he was he didn't want us to like talk about the same stuff or like make the same jokes or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so we were like reading over our stuff. And at first I was like, there's this poem and it's about love. And I was like, maybe I should read it. A motorcycle on the outside. And then I realized immediately after reading it, I was like, I know. I realized immediately after reading it, I was like, this is not my brother's wedding appropriate, but it is my wedding appropriate. So I think I'll save it. I'll keep it in my back pocket for my own wedding. Absolutely. And so I don't know. It's just like, so when I was reading it to my dad, there's like a very lengthy portion of the poem that is just like, well, I've read it to you, but like for the folks at home who aren't familiar with Derek Brown's work, it's just like a series of nouns followed by the word holy. I mean, there's other parts of the poem or whatever, but like the middle of the poem or whatever is like a series of like nouns and events and things followed by the word holy. And it's probably about 50 things. And so I got like probably halfway through it and I could tell based on the staticky silence on the other end of the phone that my dad was like wanted me to stop talking because he didn't actually ask me to read it. I was like, oh, I have this poem. I was like, maybe I could read. And he's like, okay, cool. And I was like, well, I'll read it if you insist. And so of course I just like started reading. And so, yeah, I think like halfway through that, he like sort of wanted me to stop. And then he actually did stop me. And he was like, oh, so you wrote all this? And I was like, no, I didn't. No. Didn't write a word of it.
Not a single phrase. Dad. Thanks for reminding me.
I'm not as talented as this man. And then I scampered off and said, I'll write something else. So yeah, I would say those two are probably like my favorite poems if I had to like lock it down. What about yourself? Favorite poems, favorite poets, favorite what you got?
I definitely go more for like poets than like singular poems. Like I don't know if I have a favorite poem, but there are poets who like their body of work as a whole I become like obsessed with. And God, I hope he does not listen to this. One of them being our very own Neil Hilborn.
Oh, yeah. Wait, can we claim him? I don't think we can claim him as our very own. He exists
He is
as
everyone's Neil.
Just for clarification, for those of you who don't know any of these informations. So Natalie and I do a weekly writing circle that is like run and sponsored and led by Neil. And so technically he is ours. He's ours. And anybody who wants to say now. any different can just fuck right off because he's ours. Thanks, man.
But yeah, it was like that first. Sorry, I'm getting off topic, but like there was a summer in Alabama where I was at a theater. I was working a contract at a theater, and all I did in my off time, which there was a lot of, was I would just do YouTube deep dives of Neil. And I watched literally, I think anything he has or anyone has posted of him on YouTube, I have seen.
It was like spiraling down like the Neil Hilborn dark web.
I spiraled. And there's someone he's just like a baby. He's a little baby.
Where he's just a little baby on the internet.
He's a wee baby.
Just a wee babe. Where he's got like no facial hair. And he barely has any hair.
Who is he?
Because his OCD poem came out in like 2013.
Right.
And I was like a junior in high school. I was in 11th grade.
I was going to say, I'm not trying to age him, but like I was in my senior year of high school and that happened. So that was like huge for me. And then I'm just like, huge for me.
Huge for me. It was huge.
I become a leprechaun when I get really excited about how cool Neil Hilborn is.
Because he's a mythical creature, and now so are you.
And I will loop back around to this. The other poet whose body of work I'm completely obsessed with is Andrea Gibson. And they their poetry is like nonsense. Like full, whole nonsense. I can't wrap my head around how incredible it is.
I feel like there were like 4 poets that were like repeat offenders on button poetry. Yes. That I would listen and I would watch, and I think she was definitely one of them. Her and Neil.
They.
And now that I've said, I'm sorry. And that is our episodely reminder that while pronouns are sometimes difficult, it's always important to check your friends and say you're sorry. So I think they, and also Neil, and I'm sure like there are definitely other people or whatever, were definitely like repeat posters. And,
for sure, yes.
Which, I don't know if that's like, in my mind, it was like, secretly they are part of the Button Illuminati. But also then I was like, maybe just Button just like really likes them.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. If anyone has any info on how to become a part of the Button Illuminati, let us know. You can call us at 555-555-5555.
And again,
let us know
that
is
11 fives that she listed.
Correct,
just
yes.
So you all know. That should all work.
And just let us know how we can drink the blood of Button and join their secret cult.
Yeah, those of you who can't see me, I was increasingly leading in when she said drink the blood and really wanted to see where the rest of that sentence went.
Honestly, I didn't know, so I'm glad you were on the ride with me. But no, so the two of them, especially if... For all you listeners out there, cozy in bed, listening to this podcast, if you have not listened to Honey by Andrea Gibson.
Oh, yeah, you played that.
Now.
It's
do
very
it
good.
Right now.
You don't have to listen to her review. You can listen to mine. It's very good.
It's stunningly beautiful. It's so gay and perfect. And, it's a masterpiece. Truly a masterpiece. But so Neil being on the level that he was for me, just like a full hero of mine.
Yeah.
Then I happened to run into our dear friend Greg.
Oh yeah, Greg.
Cory, Greg, and I all met at the same poetry reading in Chicago. Greg is the best. Just the best. And so he and I both were fans of each other's poetry after we had read, and walked up to each other and started chatting, talking about poetry. And he just very casually went, oh, well, you know, I'm in a writing circle led by Neil Hilborn. And I about fell flat on my ass in the middle of this place. I was like, did you just say Neil Hilborn? And he's like, yeah, we're buddies. And I was like, I'm going to throw up right now.
And they're like proper friends, which is like annoying. Like,
yes.
Like not just like a casual acquaintance that you like inflate your relationship with them. They're like, they're like proper buds.
Correct. And so he was like, yeah, you got to join us. You got to join us. And then I had this I had a month where I was like, I'm not on that level. I have just started writing poetry again. I haven't written since high school. I was doing that whole like self-sabotagey artist thing where I was like, I don't belong there. And then I finally was like, no, I'll just listen.
Well, you can't listen.
And you can't, because the temptation is too great.
This is a dance class. You dance a dance class.
Good. Yes, exactly. And so, yeah, I'm sitting there and I had to read this poem that I wrote, and I was like shaking, like literally shaking. Also was in my car outside of the dance studio I taught at. I had just like my overhead light on, and...
Should we just read our first poems from Circle? Is that what we should do this week?
And this, kids, is how genius strikes. That's perfect.
Okay, cool. Because we did write them. We wrote like...
Absolutely.
And I think you sound like you're not entirely like creatively motivated at the moment. I'm not entirely creatively motivated at the moment. Like if we had to write poems right now, they would either be really angsty or really bad.
Yeah.
Or like bad angst.
Yeah.
My heart is a shoelace and you've tied it in knots.
Oh, I like that.
Why not? Don't you love me?
Why not? Don't you love me?
I was thinking,
why do not you love me?
Why do not you love me?
No, that's perfect. Oh, mine is... Oh, I forgot what my first poem was. It was about somebody. You know what I mean? Like, not every poem is like
Chris
about
Christie.
Somebody. What?
I don't know. You said it was about somebody, and my first thing was like, I was like, oh, like a historical figure, like Chris Christie.
Chris Christie, the historical figure, Chris Christie. No, but you know how you sometimes like write vague love poems even when you're not in love, and you're like, this isn't really about anyone.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
we're gonna definitely do a segment on.
So this
on
one is
love poems.
Definitely not a love poem, and it is definitely about somebody.
Good to know.
Let's do it. Okay.
Well, mine's not at all that, but
that's okay.
I'll still read my first one.
I'll be pathetic this week.
And
you be poetic. Maybe we can switch next week.
I was literally about to say, and I'll be pathetic. Forgot what you said. I'm trying to think. I think I went first last week, so I think you go first this week.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Let's do it. Because I don't think I've ever heard this.
You haven't. Whew, okay. So Neil always gives a prompt. And this one was, when was the last time you experienced radical softness? So a moment when the world tried to kind of like make you tough and hard and a little bit hateful maybe. And you instead experienced the opposite of what you expected. You didn't experience any of that hate. Okay. It was gentleness and softness and kindness. And I was going through it at the time. So this is what happened. And again, I have no titles for anything. So this is where audience participation can come in, and you can
Untitled
name
number 93.
My poems.
Oh, okay.
Untitled 93. Okay. The checkered tablecloth has transformed. I could swear just a moment ago it inspired visions of cartoon picnics and quaint lines of ants, but suddenly I'm envisioning each line distinguishing the squares of red from white as invisible little barricades, holding out the pools of blood from one pure white square every other inch. I put a hand to my mouth because for a moment I think I clenched my jaw so hard that the blood is my own, and even after this nightmare of a conversation is over, I will have to ask the waitstaff to help me sweep up the dust of my molars from the floor, and hope there is a miracle dentist that can mosaic my smile back together. I breathe for what I believe is the first time in a full minute, because there is pain in her eyes and I put it there. There are stampedes between our rib cages and I put it there, and she made me sandwiches when eating hurt, and she made room for all my long-distance funeral processions, and she told me I was okay when all of my fascia was on fire, and he said words like love and forever and marriage. He whispered it in her ear when shouting it would have left carnage in the lake water. He passed notes because holding her hand would have beckoned the wildfires come closer. He sang vague love songs to anyone who would listen and played them lazy so he wouldn't ever imagine they were new. But then he called me. He called and I came and he laughed and I knew nothing, and now I've heard everything, including the small snap of the pretzel rod heartstring under her necklace, cracking, showering the dust of his words to lie acidic in her gut, and I wait for it. Her harpy screech, which I deserve, the bile of her blame, which I deserve, the repurposed knife from her back straight through my carotid, which I deserve, but what comes is her sweet voice. Her soft voice and her soft hand on my hand. She says it's okay. Once again, she tells me I'm okay. Ooh.
That's heartbreaking.
It was a tough time.
That was your first poem at the circle?
That was my first poem in circle.
I mean, first of all,
yeah,
visually gorgeous, and
thank you.
And
I didn't mean to come in so hot with the oversharing. It was just my honestly where I was at the moment.
I want to give like past you a hug.
She probably needed it.
Like one of those tight hugs where you sort of like squeeze the juices out of their body. You know.
Aww, yeah. I love those. Squeeze all the juice out, all the filling.
I have that visual in my head of like the picnic blanket just being like kind of a bunch of stone pillars, like sort of keeping little blood pools in, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, mine doesn't follow that emotional train at all.
I told you.
No,
well,
mine is like very like chipper and happy, and it rhymes.
Well, good. That's probably you should lift the mood a little bit after that. Yeah. I did love that. I really loved that, and it is weird. I feel like sometimes somehow I get the email with the prompt from Neil, and it is as if he has read my brain, knows exactly where I'm at and which prompt is gonna like hurt me the most.
Do you look at them ahead of time, like before the call?
No. It's
okay.
I typically don't. Or I'll read the email, but I won't open like the Word document that he has with like all the details. One time I didn't look at all, and then I ended up so if you ever don't want to do anything that fits Neil's prompt, we say fuck your prompt, and then we'll write whatever we want. And Neil is totally cool with that, which is also awesome. But I once did a fuck your prompt, and then what I did was the actual the main prompt, not the. So I did for the warm up prompt what we were supposed to do for the main prompt, not knowing that that's what the main prompt was because I hadn't looked ahead.
When it was the last one on odes, was that it? Like what the one that they end all the seasons on? Is it? Oh no, anthems. Yeah.
Anthems.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's weird. I do feel like I get a little like brain meldy with Neil sometimes. Because that was my first session, and that was like right when I was kind of going through that.
Wow.
So I was like, and it was this weird, that being in that weird moment of like, I'm going through this like really tough thing, and my friend is also going through it, and we're in this horrible situation together. And instead of being mad at me, which is like what any like conceivable iteration of that conversation, that's like where I thought it was going, and she just did the exact opposite in a shocking
broke
way.
a pretzel
like,
right in front of you.
And just no, but it was like I expected anger, I expected like confusion and hurt feelings, and instead what I got was like concern, like it was just us being concerned for each other, when like all logic should have pointed us towards like being angry. And so it had literally just happened. So that, getting that prompt right after having that experience, I was like, what? Yeah, it's so weird looking back at that, because then like I even called him out the other week. I was like, you gave me the one prompt that was gonna literally break my brain today.
Oh my God. That kind of tanked me a little bit.
So Neil Hilborn is also a psychic. Fun fact. Okay, so let's hear your chipper poem, though. Does this have a title?
Yeah.
We need a little
it's titled Shipwreck.
mood lift.
Originally, I thought this was just kind of a prompt that Neil had kind of pulled out of nowhere, but I think it is kind of inspired by the poem "Diving into the Wreck" by I think it's Adrian Rich, which is about a shipwreck, but it's not a shipwreck. It's secretly a metaphor.
Great.
And so the prompt was you had to write a poem about you're diving into a shipwreck type of thing. So
spoiler alert.
It's the second line of my poem. Okay, here we go. I need to tell you something. You're diving into a shipwreck. Sorry. Hi. I know this is odd and uncomfortable, but you seem kind enough and deserve to know you're plumbing the depths of a bottomless creature that will certainly swallow you whole. You're cute and curious, and undoubtedly I'd be furious, but there's one important thing you need to know. I'm a disaster so impossibly irrational and sarcastic to an almost pathological and maniacal degree. I'm both unfazed and an alarmist. I believe religiously in karma, and I know I'll never harm you even when you're mad with me. But I'm a most certifiably dysfunctional and overgrown carnivorous jungle, and you'll undoubtedly find yourself a snack. So while you're snapping on your swimsuit, goggles, snorkel, and balloon, you need to know the treasure lies deep beyond the wreck. Another 1,000 fathoms and another 1,000 more lies my heart on the sandy bottom floor of the sea. So while I know you'll regret the journey, and I've done my best to warn you, if you want it then, go on a date with me.
Oh my god! That is so cute. Oh, and I don't mean that in like a...
That's so cute.
Oh, that's cute. No, that is like so just wholesome and like... but in this like kind of like mature and grounded way where you're like, I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a mess right now, but like I want to like you and I want you to like me and just like let's like each other and be happy in our little shipwreck. Ugh.
I was in a coffee shop like either that day or the day before, and there was a very cute guy in front of me, and I had sort of composed this entire poem called, oh God, what is it called? It's, I don't know if it's like, are you being kind or are you flirting? And it has that same like kind of rhythmic pattern to it or whatever. And it's me kind of having this like devolving, like hyperverbal panic attack as I'm just sort of like vomiting all over their face. And so I was kind of writing that around the time when the poetry circle started. And so I think that kind of informed the way that I wrote this, because I was looking back at like the stanzas and stuff that I wrote for the flirty poem. It's like the exact same rhythmic pattern or whatever of like the way that I had set it up or whatever. So I might try to like tie them together if I can. But yeah, I like don't remember being particularly intimidated until people started reading. Like because I do remember, because I feel like similar to what you said when you were in Colorado that one summer, and the only thing that you listened to was TED Talks and like poetry and like Neil Hilborn poetry or whatever, and Neil's poems were definitely like something that they definitely got me engaged, and I think I had like I hadn't heard of his stuff in a while, and so I think that like star power in my mind was like sort of gone, and I was already like okay, cool, like this is just gonna be like chill, a bunch of people writing whatever, like and also in my mind I was like I'm sure some of them will be bad, whatever, and then like people started reading, I was like, oh snarks. So I liked this and I thought it was good and I thought it was cute. Immediately as I was reading it, I was like, oh shit. I was like, this is not the vibe. I was like, this is not good. Because I think I went right after River, who is a phenomenal... Oh, wait, no. No, not... Wait. Who's the one I think is really hot? Hazel.
Oh.
Sorry, Hazel. Definitely keeping that in.
Are we keeping that in?
I was like, River and Hazel, they're both nouns. And I mean, River is also a phenomenal poet.
True,
but I went...
True. Well, that's the thing about that circle is like, it is just... And not to turn this into a podcast about like a fan podcast for our writing circle that no one outside of our writing circle knows about, but it is like you log on to that thing and it is banger after banger after banger, and like just it's super intimidating. The level of genius that happens in there sometimes is like
I do kind of
nuts.
love that after probably 3 or 4 sessions, I was very able to see that like people definitely had a style and they had a way that they wrote, and that there were like not even like words and phrases, but like categories of things that they say. Like I know Greg likes to choose a lot of things that are like very intellectual and scientific and mix them with romanticism.
Yes. And he loves like he loves like celestial imagery, whereas Story really seems to love kind of these the vibe I get when Story reads is like fairy and like kind of mystical, and like every time Story starts reading one of her poems, I feel like I'm walking into a fairy garden.
Yeah.
And I'm going on an adventure. And then whenever like Mads reads, I feel like I'm walking, like lots of times I feel like I'm walking through someone else's childhood home and reliving like whatever that was for them, be it like
they're very
nostalgic
direct,
or dark or
and
whatever,
and very clear.
Yes.
Like they're the way that they write. I mean, it has no ambiguity to it. It's very visual. And so it was kind of nice, like kind of walking in that environment, and then also being like 3 or 4 sessions in, and people calling out similarities in my own writing, and kind of seeing that from somebody else, and that they respond in kind in a very, very nice way. And so it definitely like kind of always puts you in a very good mood. But then it also tricks me into like thinking like, oh my God, they're just being nice because they're nice to everybody, and they would secretly be dog shit to me if they were being honest.
God. I had the first couple circles I was in, I was like, are they just being nice to me? And like, I actually suck real bad, but I insist on reading my poetry every week. I feel like that's faded a little bit in time, but every once in a while when I really am like, this poem straight up blows, man, and then I read it and people are like, that was awesome. I'm like, they're lying to me. They're straight up lying to my face because they don't want me to cry.
I feel the exact same way. Like the last one I went to, I read 2 like not personal poems, but they were like they didn't even feel like poems. It was like me talking about you had to talk about I don't know why I'm flipping through. You had to talk about a time that you overheard something. You overheard something that you shouldn't have, and that you weren't supposed to. And so in mine, it's barely even a poem, and yet they fucking loved it. And someone...
Yeah. Well, because I feel like there's no rules in there. It doesn't have to be... What is a poem?
We'll explore that in our next episode.
Yes. Now that it has fully become a writing circle fan podcast.
No, but next week we will properly write things... either before or during our podcast. But I do like, for sure. I do kind of like the ability to like, pull from our stuff. I mean, like you've got a fantastic body of work just from that class. I have a fantastic body of work from that class. I said to assure myself as well. And so like...
It's true.
But it is very kind of unique because I feel like there's so few of them that I would actually like read in a public forum. Yeah. So anyway. Yeah. Anyway, always good to know.
Yeah.
I think that'll wrap it for our second episode.
Yeah. Now that
we've
between the two of us, we have 4 hours.
And only a half an hour of it is usable. And that's the part where we just recorded these poems and the part where we said our names.
Yes. Correct. And with that,
and I'm Cory.
Natalie.
Pathetic
and this has been
poetic.
Pathetic and also poetic.
I said poetic.
Thanks for...
Wait, did I say pathetic twice?
No, I said pathetic.
I said poetic.
And then you said... Pathetic and poetic.
And also pathetic.
And then I said, and also poetic.
I got lost in my own.
Now that we've got that cleared up.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
What are you still doing here? The podcast is over.
You have to go. no more.
Go
There's no
home.
more content.
Go home.
Read a book. Go to work. Take a shower.
Write a poem.